Welcome to the NFAA podcast. I'm your host, Rod White, U.S. Archery Olympic gold medalist, NFAA bowhunting coordinator, professional archer, and bow hunter. Whether you're a target archer, bow hunter, or recreational archer, we would love for you to join our archery family by signing up today at www.nfaausa.com. Membership benefits include bow hunter liability insurance, qualification to attend national tournaments, certified instructor programs, and a full year subscription to our official NFAA Archery magazine. Now, on to the show. Hey everybody, welcome to the Who Knows What Edition podcast this is going to be, but I'm here at Reading at the National 3D Mark Championships. Got that right. And I'm here with two really good friends of mine that we've spent a lot of time together elk hunting and shooting tournaments with. And Lindsay Christensen, Benton Christensen, tell us a little bit about where you're from, where you're living at now, that kind of stuff, and then we'll get in the backgrounds.
Born and raised in Southeast Idaho, and I'm still currently living there.
Yeah, same with me, Preston, Idaho.
I think the cool thing about these two that I wanted to bring on the show was of all the folks that I've met in my archery family, we'll call it our archery family, is that they have a long history with archery. And they both still live very close to one another, and you have another daughter, right, Amber?
Amber, yes.
And because you were like super proud of showing everybody the turkey pictures. Amber's daughter shot a turkey, right? Or no, you just had her in the blind.
Yeah, Amber's daughter was with me in the blind, and we just videoed when the turkeys come by Amber. She shot one, so.
I think I've seen you show that video like 55 times.
Yeah, my battery went dead on my phone, yeah.
It's pretty proud.
Yeah, Kelby's only 3.
Yeah, she was all excited.
Well, tell us, Benton, a little bit about how you got started, because you're a big NFAA shooter, love NFAA stuff, and you're at almost all the events, if not all of them.
Yeah, I didn't start archery until I was, in my early 20s. I had a friend that I met going to college, and he bow hunted a little bit, and I went with him a few times just kind of as an observer, and I thought, I want to do this. There's a late archery hunt. So I actually borrowed a bow from another friend, and we went hunting together, and I shot my first mule deer on a late archery hunt with a borrowed bow. And after that, I finished school just not too long after that, and I actually worked for a little while in Twin Falls, and then for a year, and then I moved back to Preston where I was raised, and I was practicing in my yard, and one of the neighbors drove by and saw me shooting, and he stopped and talked to me for a little bit about the archery thing, because he knew somebody that was involved in the local archery club, and he says, yeah, he'd love to meet you. And so anyway, they kind of hooked us up there, and so I started shooting indoor archery leagues and, a lot of bow hunting, and that was before, I think Lindsay was probably just barely born then, but anyway, so, did a little bit of archery league stuff and bow hunting, and somebody invited me to go to a tournament, and so I started shooting a little bit of tournaments and was, I guess, fairly successful, and it kind of progressed from there. And when the kids were little, kids are just fascinated with archery, and so, they just couldn't wait until they could get a bow, and when, I don't know, they were probably, Lindsay's oldest daughter, she was probably 4 or 5, we got her a little bow, and kind of the same thing when Amber was 4 or 5, and we shot some tournaments in Salt Lake, and we were introduced to Larry and Randy Smith and ran Salt Lake Archery, and I'm sure you have met them.
Yep.
Anyway, they're just awesome people, and they do a lot with the kids, Junior Olympic stuff, and after Randy saw Amber and Lindsay shoot a couple of tournaments, she says, we need to do a little better than this. And so she got us involved in the Junior Olympic program, and so Lindsay and Amber started shooting some Junior Olympic stuff, and I actually started going to shoot the Las Vegas tournament in '93. So when Lindsay was about 4 or 5. So before she really started shooting is when I started going to shoot in Las Vegas. And but as soon as, Lindsay wanted to go, and so I told her as soon as she's 8 years old, she could go shoot in Las Vegas. And I don't know how many years you shot, 2 or 3 years, and then she won one of the junior divisions in Las Vegas.
I won when I was 11. I got third when I was 8 the first time that I went, and I won when I was 11, I believe.
Yeah, so she won, and then Amber, she started shooting in Las Vegas with us when she was 8 also, and as they got a little older, Amber also won. So I'm the only shooter in my family that hasn't won a Vegas title. Basically, I'll make a long story short. But they did some junior Olympic stuff and do the team trials. If you're not familiar with that, they do the junior Olympic team trials for the world junior teams, and Lindsay and Amber both qualified for a couple of different world teams. And so it's kind of interesting. I worked a lot of extra overtime, got a part-time job, sold a bunch of raffle tickets. The community was helpful, to help pay the bills, because, we didn't get much money from the USA Archery for these world teams, and so mostly it was just out-of-pocket stuff. And so, like I said, we had a lot of community support. We, did some fundraisers that way, and, I worked a lot of extra hours, and so, we were able to travel. We've been all over the world together. And so, and then, as they've got older, Lindsay shot in the collegiate program, and she qualified for a world university team. And I was actually, fortunate. I got, kind of involved in that. And so I was actually able to go as a coach. I've been on 5 world university teams as a coach. And, and I was fortunately, Lindsay, that's kind of interesting. Lindsay was made the team. I applied for a coaching position, got chosen as a coach. And then I think Lindsay's last couple of years, she tried out for the team. I think she was an alternate once, but she never made another team. But I was selected as another coach or coaches again. So, I got to travel quite a bit with the college teams. And I don't know, Lindsay's got into the 3D circuit. She's done some ASA stuff. I would love to, but I'm limited on vacation time, and so it seems like by the time summer comes around, I've pretty much used all my vacation shooting indoor circles, and so I haven't done much 3D stuff. Amber, she's married and has a couple little kids, so she still shoots some of the local stuff, and she goes and shoots in Las Vegas with us, but she doesn't shoot quite as much. But
she hunts.
Yeah, she still hunts. Lindsay's really jealous because Amber's killed 4 elk, and Lindsay didn't kill her first elk till this past fall,
but it's bigger.
But it's bigger, yeah. it's bigger, so she's all excited about that. So, yeah, Lindsay shot a really impressive elk last fall. So,
well, let's talk about that a little bit. Like, how old were they when? And I don't know Utah's laws or Idaho's laws, but how old were they whenever you started them hunting, or how did you get them started in hunting?
When they were just little tiny kids, I just have always been, hunting and fishing, and they always wanted to go. They just thought that was neat. They love the outdoors. So when they were just quite small, I put up an extra tree stand. I mean, they were sitting in tree stands hunting with me before they were old enough to actually hunt themselves. And they just looked forward to it. And then,
I watched my dad shoot several animals out of the tree stand in a different tree.
Yeah. And then, when Lindsay was old enough to hunt, the first year she was old enough to hunt, she had to work really hard so she could pull back 40 pounds.
I did. I got up every morning with my dad and did push-ups all summer so that I could get 40 pounds back, because I'm 10. I was this 10-year-old girl, and I couldn't get 40 pounds back.
Anyway, so she was able to shoot a deer for her first year of bow hunting. She shot a mule deer doe the first year of bow hunting, and then
and you were 10 then?
Well, I guess I would have been 12.
Yeah, you would have been 12.
Because the legal age is now 10, but it was 12
yeah, it was
back
12.
in the
It was 12 back
day.
then.
Gotcha.
So anyway, and then kind of the same thing with Amber. She sat in the tree stand with me quite a bit before she was old enough to hunt, and then she's, shot several animals with her bows as well. So, like I said, she's got 4 elk and several deer and several turkeys. But it's just something we look forward to, and we plan our fall around archery season.
Well, now you're doing it now with the next generation because you've got Kelsey, right? Kelby.
Yeah.
That
and Maisie.
Yeah, Kelby and Maisie.
That you're taking with now and sitting in the blind with them, and
yeah, they've
cool.
been on several turkey hunts with us.
And bear hunting.
And yeah.
And fishing. Yep.
Yeah, I went and sat in the blind bear hunting, and they like to go fishing, and so it's I'm really fortunate to have a family that likes to participate in outdoor activities with me. So
well, and to a level at which a lot of people can't even comprehend, because you work 2 jobs,
yeah,
or
I have
have
a full-time job and a part-time job, yeah.
And Lindsay works.
Well, 3 until this week, and now I only have 2. So I don't really know what it feels like yet to only have 2, because I'll come back from Reading and have 2 jobs instead of 3. But yeah.
Yeah, that's dedication, for sure.
Yeah.
And then to juggle them all and make it to shoots, because you're at a lot of ASA shoots now, all the NFAA stuff. Mm-hmm. It's pretty impressive to see these two come together at every shoot. As I look forward to it, to meeting you guys at every shoot and watching how you guys joke and laugh with each other. And I know you've got other friends in the archery community. And I think one of the things that I feel like is super special too is the amount of effort that like when I see Lindsay puts into the target archery into things, that same drive is what you have, obviously. And I guess maybe just tell us a little bit about, like, so far your tournament history into where you are now, and like, because there's a really cool story you got with Extreme Huntress, which maybe people don't know about, at least people that are listening, and I think that'd be just really cool for them to hear about that.
Okay, well, as my dad mentioned, he used to take my sister and I with him to archery leagues when we were little, and I remember begging him for a bow. I want to try, and I finally got one for Christmas the year I turned 4. So I turned 4 in November, and I got a bow for Christmas. And I started shooting this archery leagues and local 3D stuff, and we started shooting state stuff, and by the time I was 8, I was beating all the women in the archery club, and I'm 8 years old, and like my dad mentioned, I got to go to Las Vegas that year, and he said, yeah, when you're 8, you can go, and I went and was able to get 3rd place there. And so that was my first really big event, and I've been, to Las Vegas every year, except for one, the year my dad had his first back surgery. I wasn't old enough to drive myself yet, so I missed that. Missed that year. I think that was 1999.
Yeah.
But so I did Vegas whenever I was 14. We had still just done like local and state shoots, and then Vegas was our only big tournament every year. And whenever I was 14, the team trials, like my dad mentioned, were in Tooele, Utah, which is just over 2 hours from us. And my dad said, if you want to make a world team, this is your chance. It's close. We can afford to go. And so I said, yeah, I'm happy to try it out. And I had never shot FITA before then until that day that I decided to try out for the world team. So this was in March whenever I found out about trials. And for 3 months, I practiced about 3 hours a day in the snow for preparing to go to team trials, and I was able to make that world team. And there were 3 girls and an alternate, and it was in England that year, and we thought it was going to be a once-in-a-lifetime thing. And so, as my dad mentioned, we did fundraisers and things like that, because to take the whole family for a once-in-a-lifetime experience is pretty expensive.
Yeah, we bought plane tickets for everybody.
Yeah, we bought plane tickets for everybody and went over there, and I did well. I got 4th individually there, and I think we won as a team. Mm-hmm. And then came back, and 2 years later, team trials came up again, and I was a junior now, and my sister was a cadet, and we both made that team. So we both made the same world team, and here we are thinking, this will be a once-in-a-lifetime. This will be a once-in-a-lifetime experience.
Another once-in-a-lifetime.
And even my grandparents went this time, because both my sister and I were both on the same world team, and we go to Mexico, and my sister, I think, went to Turkey in 2007, and I started shooting some of the senior USAT stuff. So I graduated high school in 2007, and I made the USAT team, and in 2010 I was fortunate enough to compete in Turkey for the World Cup team, and clearly we're past once in a lifetime experiences. So I went by myself. I went by myself in 2010 to Turkey, to Antalya for that World Cup, and that was the year also that I made the collegiate world team that my dad mentioned, and we went to Shenzhen, China, and it was pretty cool because my dad was there as the coach of the team, and he coached the 5 university teams, like he said. Anyways, I went to college for 8 years and had to kind of cut back on archery for a few years because life was just too crazy, and I was working full-time and going to school full-time, and trying to shoot and get good grades is hard to do. So I just kind of scaled things back a little bit and shot the local and state stuff in Vegas every year. And a few years ago, whenever I graduated with my master's degree, I finally felt like I had some more time in my life to really get back into the tournament world. And so I started shooting again and was able to get a sponsorship from Prime. And obviously I like tournament shooting, but my true love is really hunting. And as my dad mentioned, I was up in the mountains with him before I could even walk, and I watched him shoot several animals over the years, and I mean, but my fire was really fueled whenever I shot that first deer, whenever I was 12, and since then I've been all over the United States hunting, and to Canada, England, Mexico, Spain, hunting. And in 2017 I was actually, well, I guess it would have been 2016, I was driving down to Salt Lake City to do a podcast about tournament archery with the Hunting Widow podcast, and this is bad to admit, but I had never listened to any of the podcasts. And so I'm turning on these episodes. I'm like, oh, I have 2 hours. I'll just pick a few random episodes. So if she asks me about something, then I can say, oh, I listened to this so-and-so's episode or whatever, because I was like, oh crap, I don't even know anything about this podcast. So the episode that I happened to listen to was Shannon Lansdowne, and she was the 2016 Extreme Huntress winner. And she talked all about the competition, and after I listened to her podcast, I said, that sounds like something I would like. I'm going to look into that. So this was in March, and then I started doing some research, and the deadline to apply for the 2017 Extreme Huntress contest was April 15th. And here I am working 3 jobs. And so I literally just applied on my break at work one day, just threw together an application. I missed several of the things that I should have put on there just because it was just so quick. We had to write an essay about, what makes us an extreme huntress, any organizations for conservation that we're a part of, hunts that we've been on, what weapons that we've used, guided or not. Like I said, I did my best in about 15 minutes to throw together an application. And 2 weeks later, I got an email saying that I had been selected as a semifinalist for this contest, and there was 20 of us in the semifinals. So the judges gave us a score based off of our application and our essay, and then that was 70% of the score in the semifinals, and then the other 30% came from public voting, online voting. So I had to promote myself and promote women in hunting, and when all was said and done, I ended up being a finalist. So the top 6 girls, there was me and one other girl from the U.S., as all the other 4 were from out of the country. And we went to Texas, and we competed head-to-head in both hunting and skills competitions. And there we received a judge's score based off of how well we hunted, and then a skill score based off of how well we were doing in the challenges. And this was all filmed into a reality series. And so then once we got home, the reality show started airing, and the public could vote after every episode, for their favorite huntress. And when all was said and done, I was fortunate enough to win the title of 2017 Extreme Huntress. And yeah, here I am now.
And that show was on. Did they have it on ESPN?
It was an online. It's a web series. Yeah. So.
Okay. Because I know I've seen it on Outdoor Channel, or at least clips of it on the Outdoor Channel stuff.
Yeah.
So it was a major production, and I don't think there's any other competition out there like that.
Not that I know of.
Pretty huge honor.
Who knows? Yeah.
And then you got to, because there was a banquet, right?
Yeah, so they announced the winner at Dallas Safari Club.
Dallas Safari Club banquet.
Banquet, yep. So we went. My dad missed Iowa Pro-Am, so he could come with me to the banquet, and that's where they announced the winner. And I honestly thought the one girl from Canada would win. You know, I didn't. There was no doubt in my mind that she wasn't going to go home with that title, and so I was really surprised whenever I won. I think it was just like the Emmys or the Oscars. I got up there and spoke and cried. You know, I was just it was kind of crazy, but yeah. So.
And then you had some of these sponsors probably along the way, but that opened the door for you, obviously, in a huge way for sponsorship. So,
yes.
So who are the companies you represent now?
So Prime, like I mentioned, Carter Releases, Elevation, BowFit, let's see, Cryptek Camo, so that came about because of Extreme Huntress, Kenetrek Boots, Extreme Huntress also, Carbon Skin, which is a scent elimination product, Muley Freak, all of those are hunting companies. Drop Tine Outdoors is who makes my bowstrings. So I'm super fortunate to have some great sponsors to help me keep doing what I love.
Yeah, because you're still competing, but you're also going on other hunts too.
Yeah.
Because I mean, really, if you think about it, from just when your story began to now, like, I mean, like last year you shot something in Spain or something.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I got a Gredos Ibex in Spain. Supposedly, I'm the first woman to shoot that species of ibex with a bow that anybody knows of. So now I'm after the Spanish ibex slam with my bow, and I'll be going back this fall after my next species, which is the Beside ibex that I'm going after this fall.
And you'll be the first to do that?
With a bow, yeah.
Awesome.
First one with a bow. There's been, several guys who have done it with a bow, but never a woman with a bow.
Awesome. Super cool.
So, yep.
So, sponsors?
Prime, obviously, BowFit. Gold tip arrows.
I forgot gold tip.
Gold
tip. Yeah, I can't forget that.
Arrows. Who's on my back of my shirt?
Bee Stinger, Elevation, Carter.
Bee Stinger and Gold Tip are kind of one together. So Elevation, Carter Releases, that's a big one. They've been, the Carters have just been great. They've been involved with the Christensen family since the kids were really small. Jerry and Forrest gave, lots of time and effort to helping the kids. So, I mean, we really appreciate them. They've been a sponsor since, like I said, the kids were really, really small. They've been very helpful. And, Gold Tip is a long time sponsor for me. And then, Prime is a fairly recent deal. I'd never signed a contract with a bow company. The local shop sold Hoyts for years and years and years, and that's what I shot because that's what the local shop sold. But Prime, liked us for some reason or another, and so we've developed a relationship with them, and they've been really good to us. So, we definitely appreciate our sponsors.
What release do you shoot?
I shoot, Carter's obviously, but the Like Mike, and you're familiar with that. I've shot that. I've shot the Attention. I really, spent a lot of time, several years with the Evolution. That's you hear lots of things about that, but that saved me. I got target panic so bad it was either change or quit, and thank goodness I was able to change to Forrest gave me one of those to try, and so. That's just been a lifesaver in archery for me, that Evolution. And so, but anyway.
Lindsay, what do you shoot?
I shoot Just Cuz Plus for both hunting, 3D, indoors. Pretty much the same release all the time. I do practice with the back tension quite a bit.
Sweet.
During the indoor season.
Yeah, she's got a honey.
I have a honey too. Yep. So.
And
yeah.
do you hunt with the same releases?
I do with my thumb release, the Just Cuz Plus, and he hunts with his Like Mike.
Like Mike for the last few years, yes.
And last year you killed a super slammer.
Yeah, years ago, one of the guys I used to work with was my boss's son. We started putting in for a Utah elk tag, and we did that for a few years, and he actually got killed in a freak mountain bike accident, and I just kept putting in, kept applying for that elk tag, and anyway, Utah has a point system, and they don't give away a lot of elk tags, and because of the trophy quality there is pretty obvious why. But it took me. I had 20 points, so this was 2017 was the 21st year of applying for that tag. I finally drew that elk tag it's the San Juan unit in Southeast Utah, and one of the guys I met through shooting archery tournaments was willing to come hunt with me a little bit, and he lives in Colorado, and he met up with me, and we had just an awesome couple of days of elk hunting. It didn't last very long, but Ray called in just a monster bull. The gross score was 397, and it's going to net 384, I think. Anyway, yeah, just a huge bull, and it was just, and I've shot a lot of elk, and when you actually come down and hunted with us a couple of years ago, and you saw some elk, but we don't have elk like they have down there where I'm at, and it was another one of those once in a lifetime experiences. I'm hoping that Lindsay's boyfriend actually has enough points. He has a really good chance of drawing in the next couple of years, so I'm gonna go back for sure. Just a lot of elk and just big elk. It was great.
Well, you don't have like a ton of. I mean, you have some really seriously good elk here and there, and you killed a good one last year. I don't know what that thing scored. Lindsay killed one.
Yeah, it grossed 315 and netted 305.
Yeah, slammer bull.
Which for over-the-counter public lands tag, I can't complain about that.
Yeah. And that was your first one, right?
My first bull, yeah. I've had some exciting elk hunting experiences over the last few years, but there's something just isn't quite right all the time. But I've had so many close calls, so I think I've had more fun than my sister elk hunting, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
So
well, so I guess we'll just wrap this thing up with 2 quick questions, one for each of you. Lindsay, if let's just say that maybe there's a possibility that some little girl out there is listening to this podcast like you were on the way down to Salt Lake, what little piece of advice could you give to a new, or maybe even somebody who's been shooting for a while, a girl that would, what piece of advice would you give to be inspirational to them, I guess?
Find somebody that is a mentor for you that truly wants you to succeed. I mean, there's a bunch of people out in archery that want to help you, but they don't have the time to invest into helping you succeed, and I think that's what you need as a young child, is a mentor who is invested in your success as much as you are invested in your success. And I think that's the key, to building a good foundation and then going from there, obviously. But I think that's important.
And what do you think the key is to how do you say that, growing a successful clan,
a successful archery family?
Yeah.
We've spent a lot of time talking about this, all the stuff we've done as a family, and I don't know, I consider myself the luckiest person in the world. And it's, we've been all over the world, and I love my kids, and like I said, I've just been so fortunate that way. And I've been fortunate to work with kids in the 4-H program and the hunter education program, and kids want to do stuff with their family, and if their parents will take the time to help them, a lot of times the parents really don't know much about the sport, but if they allow them to get involved, it builds self-esteem. They'll do better in school. And their relationships with their siblings, their family will strengthen. It's just been great. I mean, I can't explain. Like I said, I'm lucky. That's all there is to it.
You both are certainly a huge role model for me, and for a lot of people out there. You probably don't realize all the people that you affect. And I guess I want to say thank you for being friends.
I appreciate it.
Thanks.
And I met you years and years ago in Las Vegas, and it's when you had tape on your limbs. You were shooting I think you signed. Yeah, you were shooting I can't remember if you were shooting a PSE or a bow, but you were representing Matthews, something like that. But Matthews didn't make a recurve at the time. Anyway, I met you back then. I talked to you for just a little bit, and you left an impression on me, and I think you kind of got out of the tournament scene for a little while,
Yep.
And when you come back in, I was fortunate enough to meet you, again, and I've enjoyed, spending time with you, and it's I don't know. Like I said, archery's been great for me.
Lindsay, got anything to add at all?
No, this is great. Thanks. I appreciate you letting us come on the show.
Well, we appreciate you sharing your story. It means a lot, like I said, to a lot of people out there. You probably have no idea. So thanks again. We appreciate it. And
Thank you.
See you on the next podcast.